All right, chapter 13, the life force. When the child grows up, becoming a youth or maiden, it enters into a struggle with existence with worldliness. It becomes like a swimmer setting out to cross a turbulent river. Individuals try to mold the world to their own way of thinking, but the world fights back, and in doing so shapes each one into an image differing from his own conception. To each person, Earth takes on a different aspect according to individual thoughts and inclinations. The life force centered in man is not something unique in nature, and the vast ocean of life seeks to draw it back into itself. Therefore, if the life force is to remain separate within the individual must be prepared to face conflict and opposition. The struggle to retain life cannot be renounced. No one can cut himself off from the difficulties of worldly existence or discard the burden of manhood or womanhood. While strength and vitality throb within the mortal container, worldly problems or difficulties must be steadfastly faced and overcome. But at the onset of middle age, each one should prepare for the downhill run, and by this time the soul spirit should be aroused to consciousness and be well and harmoniously formed. Each person should, by this time, be strong enough to face the inevitability of old age, decay, and death with equanimity. At this, the turning point of life, there should be an inward turning, a greater effort expended in seeking to understand the purpose and meaning of life. There should be a seeking after spirituality, after fulfillment. The sole purpose of earthly life is to realize and develop the latent powers in man. All the problems and struggles, all the spiritual difficulties and obscurities, all the paradoxes, the experiences of joy and sorrow, pleasure and pain simply serve to awaken the soul spirit. Life is all-embracing. It includes both birth and death, growth and decline, the contrast, the opposites, the active and the passive, male and female. It is the knowledge of his individuality, his separateness, his consciousness of self that raises man above the level of the dumb creatures. But this position cannot be maintained without effort. It will always be easier to fall than to rise, to go back instead of forward. The child knows little of the burdens imposed by life, but as it grows older, its lightheartedness becomes overshadowed by the knowledge of duties and obligations, which must be assumed. The hearts of our weaker brethren are so often filled with a longing to return to the state of protected childhood that they are easily beguiled by parental faiths, which treat them as children. They find it easy to cast their spiritual burdens at the feet of comforting priests, but such action is not only childishly irresponsible, but it is also morally cowardly. The spiritually irresponsible who seek a comforting creed are generally apathetic or selfish persons, careless of their spiritual life and its needs. My friends, the final thing we must depend upon is the soul spirit. Only that accompanies the individual into the life eternal, but it is too late to come to this realization upon the deathbed. Those who have confidence in their future existence are the only truly contented ones on earth. Man should never forget that his most important aspect is the soul spirit, and he should not be neglectful of its needs and demands. He should not confuse it with the frail mortal body whose needs and demands, if given full rein, will override those of his greater self. Man must understand life. He must understand its forces which play about him. To understand it fully is to know one's own destiny, one's own heritage of struggle, and one's own trials. Man must resolve on the inner search and follow its trail diligently. When a man's life becomes a pattern of perfection reflecting the perfection above, he is a container for the life force and a channel for the downpouring power which serves to uplift the whole of mankind. Becoming this is, in fact, the only real service man can render the Supreme Spirit. Man's prime duty is to himself, and even when he serves others, he is serving his own ends. Therefore, He should not be hypocritical about his goodness. The good deeds of men are the soul spirit molders, as also are spirituality, freedom from agnosia, forbearance, love of truth and justice, tranquility of heart, simplicity, austerity, generosity, and integrity. Only in a well-balanced being can the life force manifest harmoniously. Therefore, all excesses of joy and sadness, pleasure and melancholy, despair and exhilaration are to be avoided. The rule must be oft repeated, moderation in all things and complete control over the self. My friends, I have revealed to you the nature of the inner being who controls all things from within. Now it is up to you to use this knowledge to good effect. I have shown you the cords by which the spheres are held together, and the same cords bind all things. You ask me, what is a good man? He is one in whom goodness triumphs over evil, whose qualities grow stronger daily, while his evil qualities weaken. In him, conceit, avariciousness, selfishness, anger, rashness, and agnosia are diminishing each day, and he governs his life in accordance with the good books. Self-mastery is freedom, not restraint, for it is bondage to the body, which makes life a misery to the man who aspires to goodness and the spiritually inclined. This bondage is caused by ignorance of the true nature of man and his destiny, and can best be overcome by a steady advance towards self-knowledge, spirituality, and soul-spirit awakening. The essential qualities for such advancement are tranquility of heart, which means serenity, self-mastery, fortitude, and resolution under the afflictions of life, kindness, and consideration for others, a life led in accordance with the good books. The man who is truly good understands the troubles of another and stands ever ready to help the weak and oppressed. He never boasts of his achievements and treats every woman with respect, the same respect he has for his mother. He does not sully his lips with falsehood and is free from the fetters of greed and envy. The life force diversifies into many expressions, the greatest of which is love. This is a prime quality essential to soul-spirit awakening, but it may take on many forms. Reverence is a form of love, so is the appreciation of melody and beauty. Uprightness is love manifesting in self-control. Wisdom and desire for truth is another form of love. Duty and obligation call forth an expression of love in a different aspect, though no less strong and beneficial. My friends, there are those who teach that spirituality comes from turning away from the world, but this is a wrong teaching, for life is meant to be lived fully, and to live means to experience. A man who shuts himself away from the world can love no one except himself. To say he does it for love of the Supreme Spirit is empty talk. No step is lost on the path of experience, though sometimes what appears to be a gain will be a loss, but so may a loss be a gain. The wayfarer must keep one objective ever before his eyes, and that is the ultimate end. He must strive towards this with all his resolution and allow nothing to divert him. The alluring side roads are many branched and lead to dead ends, and along them worldliness beckons bewitchingly. Along the road there are strugglers and stragglers, seekers and non-starters. Therefore, if you would travel the road, firmly rid yourselves of the burden imposed by worldly and selfish desires. This does not mean that worldly things are to be completely shunned, for worldly success is not to be despised if sought with moderation and without prejudice to greater things. In all things there is a proper balance and state of harmony. However, whatever comes your way, do not become too elated with success or too downcast by failure. Both are tests and serve the same end. Labor is the cause of earthly gain, is of less value than labor which benefits mankind or glorifies earth. Therefore, if a creed brings men together only for worship, it serves little purpose. But if it is also a creed where men labor to learn, to beautify life, and to advance mankind, then it is of value beyond estimation. The life force must be conserved and guarded. It must not be dissipated in the uncontrolled tempests of passion and emotion. These carry away the life force as the winds carry away the autumn leaves. My friends, one of you says my words confuse him because they contain contradictions indicating two paths, and asks which is best for the attainment of the supreme goal. Let me say, and heed it well, that the most profound truths can be explained in the limited expressions of men only by seeming contradictions and paradoxes. Man may travel two paths to the perfection laying beyond earth. One is the path of wisdom lit by the lamp of vision, and the other the path of action lit by the lamp of determination. There are men of wisdom and counsel, and men of deeds and action are all equally necessary to maintain the balance and harmony of life, and an existence with one and not the other becomes chaotic. Two things man cannot do. He cannot refrain from learning, and he cannot refrain from action. He must not turn his back on life or renounce the worldly struggle. However, there is learning that is beneficial and learning which is not. There are actions which are good and others which are bad. It is the choice that counts. Man is like a cornered bear, and life is like the hunters who surround it, goading it into action, forcing it to strike. So are all men driven to action by the nature of things, and any who seeks to avoid it while permitting their thoughts to wander idly towards life's pleasures do inestimable damage to their soul spirit. The true man is one in whom wisdom and action are balanced, whose mind, controlling his inner forces with harmony, governs his resolute steps along the path of action, and the mortal body could not exist here were it not continually active. The life force in man turns the wheel of progress. Aim to be good and carry out your allotted tasks in life, and progress in the right direction will follow. Though it is folly to sit irresolutely at the crossroads, it is no wiser to press forward along the wrong road. Have faith in these teachings and follow the indicated path with cheerfulness, goodwill, and resolution, and your soul spirit will safely reach the high pass where it can look out over the good country spread before it. Ignore the inner urges which rise from the depths of mortal flesh and drive a man, often even unwillingly, to act wrongfully. Have faith in the reality of the soul spirit, for it is the only permanent thing in the ever-changing waters of life. It may be hidden deep in agnosia. It may be clouded by mortal desires, as fire is clouded by smoke, by petty unfruitful pursuits, as a mirror is darkened by dust, or by the denseness of matter, as a kernel is hidden by its shell, but the reality lies underneath. The life force must never be consumed by flames of desires generating in the flesh. Unhealthy or abnormal desires, like wood ants, burrow into the minds of men and breed there, eating away their reasoning powers and wisdom. From such desires arise a noxious cloud of vapor which, having overcome reason and wisdom, smothers the soul spirit in darkness. Therefore, be masters and directors of your desires. Great are the powers of the senses and the worldly desires to which they pander to bind and blind. But the resources of the soul spirit are infinitely greater if you will only call them forth. So stretch out and grasp the sword beyond the limits of mortality and slay the enemies of the soul spirit. Even though you lack the resolution to fight for any cause, however great, fight for yourself, for your own preservation into eternity. Those who lack faith in the existence of truth, who cannot summon the strength to struggle, who have not the fortitude to stand the long, weary years of preparation, will never penetrate the veil to see the wonder and glory beyond. There is a glorious eternal beauty shining over the universal vastness, and in a rare moments of illumination, man may glimpse the everlasting in things which pass away. This is the message handed down through the ages. This is the message of all true spiritual teachers, all poets, musicians, and artists, all who beautify and glorify life, convey only the same message in infinite variety and expression.